you're not supposed to have sex before you get married. You're not supposed to eat animals. You're not supposed to do drinks or drugs. I see young girls, for example, all the time feeling that shame about, like having sex or something before they get married, or like whatever version, or drinking alcohol, right? Like I've seen people experience shame. That's actually one of the reasons why people lie so much.
Hello, namaste. Welcome to the Zarna Garg family show. So excited to have you because all 5 Gargs are in the house. And today's episode is going to be heated. It is going to be riveting. It is going to make you angry and make you happy. It's going to bring out all the feels because it is a follow-up episode to an episode we already did. Do we believe in God? In the first part, Zoya was missing, so we were missing one important point of view. God, even for the non-believers, seemed to be present in everybody's life, in conversation. In a moment of weakness, do we all lean on it even though we don't believe in it? Today we have all 5 people, and it turns out that all 5 of us have very different points of view and different thoughts on this matter. My husband of 26 years, Shalab Garg, Wall Street professional. My daughter who's finishing up college soon, Zoya Garg. My son who just started college, Bridge Garg. And my middle schooler, Veer Garg. Everybody is in the house. So now who wants to kick off the discussion on God?
I just have a side point, like in a lot of the comments on Religion 1.0,
Yeah.
like in the last one, everybody kept pointing out to a couple of goddesses in India in a Hindu religion that
Yeah.
are actually leading goddesses like Durga and Kali. Names don't matter that much. Our kids would not know the names. But because Bridge made this point around, how women are taking the back seat to male gods, and, people use it to their benefit and so on and so forth. And everybody kept saying as if we don't know all that. But I don't think we don't. We do know all that. But the point is that it doesn't take away from the fact that 1,000 years of Hindu religion has been male dominated when it comes to lifestyle. And it's not just Hindu religion either. Every religion for that matter, Christianity, Islam. Actually, I'm not even going to go there. Forget Islam. Christianity, Judaism, every kind of religion has women in the back seat. So it's not like a Hindu thing standalone. So Bridges' point, I'm just defending his point, was not wrong in that regard, irrespective of everybody jumping on him and saying that, pointing out to these 2 goddesses out of the 36,000 that exist, to make the point that there's some warrior goddesses as well, and it's not all male gods in the religion.
I watched the episode as a viewer, and it was such an amazing experience to be reading the comments, watching the episode. I was like, wow, this family is so crazy. I mean, they're saying this on the internet. I was like, that's my family and I'm a part of this podcast. So it was really entertaining. So good job, guys. Very informative podcast. My A grade as a viewer went to Bridge in that episode. I felt that Bridge's point, where he explained that he doesn't necessarily feel he subscribes to a religion, but he believes in concepts for different religions, like love thy neighbor from Christianity, karma from Hinduism. Bridge also is like highly spiritual, does a lot of yoga. And, he was talking about different principles from different bodies of religion. I thought that was so smart. I actually thought that was the wisest thing that has maybe been said in family
But
podcast
that wasn't
history.
his key point, though. His key point, correct me if I'm wrong, Bridge, but I thought your key point was more around how people sort of use really part of the religion that suits them, and then things like LGBTQ, women's rights, gender roles, all of that is sort of, to people's benefits, however they want to interpret it. Wasn't that your key point?
I think I had multiple points, but definitely the first point I made was exactly what Didi is talking about.
Okay.
And I talk about this a lot in college because my roommate is very religious. I have these conversations a lot, and exactly what you're saying is true. It should be very normalized to be able to take the best values of each religion and make that your religion, make that what you're trying to strive after. It doesn't necessarily need to be, I have to put all my eggs in one basket. That's kind of what she's saying.
And I know my perspective that I'm so excited to be able to talk about in this episode was missing. For example, in the Islam faith, right, you're not supposed to drink alcohol and you're not supposed to do drugs. Like, that's outlined in the faith. And the effect of that is actually, I have a lot of friends in college who are, Muslim girls, because we're able to spend time in the same way. Instead of going out and drinking, I'm able to spend time with them, doing other versions of fun social activities. So I actually think one thing that was missing in the earlier conversation on faith is the community aspect of it. I think the real reason a lot of people practice religion is so that they can gather in these larger groups, meet people who want to do good, and like I remember growing up and going to the Hindu school or whatever that we went to once a week. Bal
Bal
Vihar.
Vihar. Yeah.
Never forget.
Just you guys cried and I dragged you to them. It was literally like a screaming, shouting, dragging match up and down the Upper East Side, with all these American parents looking at me like I was doing something so bad, molesting you guys or something.
Okay,
It
wait,
was
hold on.
so dramatic, all of you.
To be fair, Bal Vihar, I think, was much more of a community building thing than it was actually learning about Hinduism. We did both, obviously, but for me personally, I don't think I can name one thing I learned from Bal Vihar or remember it. But
What? All these teachers taught you about Ram and Krishna and Sita and all
like
these.
I was
You don't remember all that?
no, I was learning from
I
other
know.
kids. Like I was making friends with other kids. Baya and Didi were there. All the families were there, and I remember the main thing is each week, or it was once a week, twice a week, whatever it was, every time we went to Bal Vihar, one family was designated to bring candy. So every time after Bal Vihar was over, one family had to bring in a bunch of candy and hand it out to everybody. And that's such a community building activity.
I can't believe you remember that.
Yeah,
But that's what
believe.
that's
Because
what
he
I
was
mean.
so little.
I mean that I don't know. I mean, okay.
But do you believe in God, Zoya, or not? That's something you have not commented on yet. Bridge
I
and Veer did.
I believe in a higher power. I don't believe that there's this one.
You mean your mom?
No. Well, sometimes she acts like she's thrown down the axe of God in her decisions with me. But I do believe in a higher power. I do believe deeply in karma. I actually did a 200-hour yoga teacher training entire experience. And what a lot of people don't know about certifications in yoga specifically is it's not really about the asana or like the physical practice. It's really mostly focused on all of the yogic philosophy and you know, all the meditation, and you have to do all this yoga history. And not to drone on because I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I subscribe to all the things that I learned in that, because to me, it's separated a lot. Most of yoga philosophy is like about the self. It's not about man and woman and husband and wife and kids, and it's about how do you like channel your own inner energy so that you can actually be in the service of other people. And to me, that's what the whole point of religion is. It's just, it sometimes gets conflated with politics and all forms of power hierarchies.
Okay, I believe in God. Can we just reset in this episode where we go around? I believe in God. I believe there's somebody looking out for me, and I'm very grateful. Shalom?
Is that who you look to every time that things get tough?
Yeah, and even when things are not tough, I'm grateful to God. I'm
But
also
you've
happy.
never really practiced it.
Yeah, but I don't really feel like I have to do all the religious stuff to have a relationship with God. Like, I don't know about all that temple worshipping and all that. I don't feel that that's necessary. But I do believe there is a higher power that's watching out for me.
Do you feel like you owe God something?
Good behavior. Yeah, I do. I feel like, and I'll tell you that, like, you know, when you read the news or bad things happen to other people around you, and so much bad things happen every day in the world. I mean, you don't even have to look far to find it. I believe, because as a human being, how can you not be affected by it, right? When you read things, that bad things that happen to other people. But I really believe that if God has given me this life, I need to put it to use and do good things with it. And that's something that sits on my shoulder all the time,
Yeah.
that I can't just wallow in the sadness of what's going on in the world, because right now God has chosen me to be the person who's spreading joy and who's spreading all the things that I'm capable of spreading in this world, and that is my responsibility to him or her or whatever. I've always believed God was a man. I guess that's how I grew up. But I don't know if it's a woman god, goddess also, that's fine, but that's a responsibility that I take very seriously. And it also helps me when I'm feeling really, really bad about the world, which is like basically on the daily.
Yeah.
How
Dad, do
about
you
you,
believe in
Bridge,
God?
Veer? Do you believe in God?
I believe in God. I
Okay.
believe in God. I think that karma is like I think that karma as a family, I think that we all agree with karma, and for me, I think karma is a very important thing. I always try and do something good, and whenever I like make a mistake or something that shouldn't have happened, I always think like I'm gonna pay for this in the future. And whenever I do something good, I'm thinking, or whenever I help somebody, I'm like, I'll find a way to get repaid just by the universe's faith.
As I mentioned in the last episode, or last religious episode, which I highly suggest you watch if you want to go more into what I believe, I do not believe in God. I don't believe that there's some magical person in the sky or around us or wherever that helps us with our actions or produces whatever, whatever, whatever. I do believe that religion offers incredible values that people should follow. And I have nothing against people who do follow religion. I don't think that they're dumber than me. I don't think that they're smarter than me. I don't view it as some sort of life altering thing that they follow religion and I don't. It's just very, for me, objective. Okay, they follow religion, cool. I don't follow religion, cool. We just have different beliefs. Now, with that being said, I do believe in karma, which is in a form a higher power. I don't believe that it's. I think that's just some sort of universal. I don't want to say God producing it, but some sort of universal like experience of just what you give is what you get. I think that it's a very. I can go a lot into why I believe that and how I think that your actions, whether you do something bad, will change the way that you behave overall, leading to some people doing some bad things to you or some other life existential thing happening to you. So it's not necessarily I believe in karma in the way that the universe is going to throw something at you. I believe in karma in the way that your own actions are going to be reflected because of how bad or good they were.
How do
If
you
that makes sense.
how do you differentiate between good and bad?
Just humanistic values. If I'm hurting somebody or myself emotionally or physically, it's bad. If I'm making people feel good around me or I'm helping people around me, I believe that's good.
Who holds you accountable?
No one holds me accountable. Just
Yourself.
basic human values. Yeah, myself. And I've talked about this in the last episode too. I don't understand why you need someone to hold you accountable to not do bad. I don't understand that. Like, why would I need somebody to punish me for slapping Veer, for example, to know that I shouldn't slap my brother? It's not that. People think that it's such a unique, oh my God, if no one holds you accountable, the world is chaos. But that's not true. Anyone who has basic humanistic values should understand the difference between good and evil. I don't think it needs to be given down by something.
I do agree with you that it's pretty blatant. Like a good thing is usually a good thing, and a bad thing is usually a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
we
but
do
life
have
is full of
it's-
great things. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys are making it seem if it was that simple, there would be no religion.
And there would
Okay,
never
but
be
if it-
war, and there
if
would
there-
never be.
Yeah,
If there were
life
great
is
things,
yeah.
if there are great things, why does religion separate that? And why is religion, or first of all, let's choose one religion, because if we're talking about religion in general, there's thousands of them, meaning that there's thousands of different laws to live by. So first of all, which law set are we living by? Second of all, how does religion decide that in the best and most accurate way possible? Just because we believe in God, we believe in everything that religion entails, does that mean that we can't believe in other religions and what they
You know,
entail?
I agree with you, Bridge. And that's something I think about a lot with our family specifically, right? In our family, we talk a lot about how we're motivated by money, right? Is that the antithesis to being religious? You know what I mean? Like,
Facts, that's a great point.
if you are motivated,
No,
by,
it is
wait, just
not a
listen to
point
me.
at all. It is
No.
not a point at
Listen,
all.
listen. Okay, before you start fighting me, Mom heard money.
You
and
two
she
like
just
to
actually,
be united against me is what it
do
is.
you see what just happened? She heard the word money and got triggered. Like, she heard threat to
No,
money.
when
and
he
got
said
triggered.
facts and I knew where this was going, that the two
Well-
of you are gonna make an alliance.
Because when I think about religion, and when I think about religion, I think about charity. I don't know why. I think about charitable acts. I think about the kinds of people that will go to the soup kitchen, the kinds of people that will do acts and services for other people for free, and
Right.
have no other incentive.
Well,
except
how?
for
What do you
human
mean? That
good.
that's so strange. I don't understand that
Like
definition.
when you are in, for example, like when you
I mean,
do.
religion, as these kids explain, can be about karma, about higher power,
It could be
about
anything.
could be anything. Why does that particular point appeal to you?
I think I feel
It's
that
what she associates with religion. I guess also in America,
Guys, I
all
think
the
that we should let
religious
Didi
places
speak
are
on this.
tied to charitable things. What?
I think Didi could give an accurate example of how she feels about this.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay,
Do
go
you
ahead.
see what's happening? Shall I
Well,
Yeah.
both
play?
dad and mom cut her off. Like, yeah, she's
Well,
trying to speak.
well, no, they explained it well. I just mean, I do think religion is highly associated with selflessness, right? Being a very selfless human being. Now, how can we claim to be religious? And like, I think about a lot of the self-help people, right? Like these very spiritual people on Instagram who are like doing a lot of self-help, right? And then they're making a lot of money off of their self-help, you know? And so I guess does that negate whether or not they can be considered religious spiritual leaders? Like, what does that mean? You know, how can we, does that make sense?
I guess. But I mean, as soon as I say this, your mother will start jumping up and down, but I'll say it anyway. That being selfish is the ultimate act of selflessness, right? Because, if you take care of yourself and the most immediate constituents around you, which is generation below and above, or at least generation below, if not above, then, you're already doing a lot of religious work because, you at least you're not a burden to society. You're not a burden to, so that means taking care of your health, taking care of yourself, taking care of your happiness. I think a happy person is, in theory, being very selfless because he's not a burden to anyone around himself. Sort of like me.
Oh, okay. Oh my God.
What is religious defined by? How do you?
But I don't. But I didn't answer the question earlier. I don't think I'm. I thought about it ahead of this episode because we were talking about it so much the last time. I don't think I'm religious. I'm definitely not religious. If I've gone to a temple, which I have over the course of life, it's just been for the entertainment aspect of it. It's really fun to see, a well-created, temple and, priests around doing their work.
The
and
ambiance.
the
I
ambience
have
of a
I have
temple.
a question.
Can I just
Right
finish?
now, for the okay,
Rich,
fine, finish.
before
Sorry,
you
finish.
ask your question, the ambience of a temple, the fresh air, I even like the sweets. They're very, very well, fresh and well created laddus and mithais that they give and all that. But I don't think I'm religious pretty much at all. So
So
that's
you
all.
just like the community aspect?
I just like the community aspect, but you can get that through a club or through a, I also
You
like, for
can't
example,
really get it through any other aspect. I
why
think you
not?
can. I think a religious community is a very specific type of community. It's usually defined by
I mean,
some.
in New York, is not like in Bar Vihar. You had all these parents coming over. It was
But
fun
those
to
were all
catch up with them.
primarily Indian parents, and they were all primarily sharing the same kinds of foods, like in Christian faiths.
Yeah.
Like you can see like ethnic groups of people gathering and wearing similar types of clothing, and
Like what is the definition of religion? Or what do we as a family define religion
It's a
as?
belief system.
yeah.
It's
But a belief system, Baya has a belief system too.
I think it's a belief system that usually is based on some ancient scripture. Usually there's some ancient text involved, and it's usually a religion.
Interpreted by the guardians of the text
Yeah.
in the modern world.
Yeah.
It's not
But
like every human
Bhaiya
being.
is religious. He just doesn't know it. There's also that.
Oh
Doesn't-
my god. What
How
is
did
the
you go there?
fear,
Okay,
Mom,
to be
of
fair-
him
to be
saying
fair,
that?
According to that definition, I'm not religious.
What do you mean?
I believe in God, but I don't believe that there's any sort of historical text.
There is
Well,
a historical text
yeah, there's two major historical texts
in
in
Hinduism.
Hinduism, right? Ramayana.
I'm saying that I don't.
But you may be too young yet and not as exposed, being that you were born and raised here, to not be exposed to it. But a child your age in India, or if we raised you, religious, you would be exposed to it.
Wait,
and
I'm
may
going
feel about it
to
differently.
propose a new definition. I think being the act of being religious is whatever you interpret your moral code to be, and that, like, you can decide whether or not you subscribe to that word. Like, that's different. I think being religious is different.
What is the
than
difference between a
religion.
cult and being in a religion?
That's a great question. I
No,
think a
cult
cult-
has a lot of forced behaviors. We don't have the best part of being Hindu and being in the Hindu religion. I will do a shout out for our religion. Is that actually there's no forced behaviors. There's nothing. You want to come to a temple, come to a temple. You want to eat, you want to drink, you do what you want. In fact, say you're not Hindu and you'll still be Hindu.
Yeah, it's a belief system. The prime minister says that all the time.
Wait,
It's
Baya,
a
what were you?
very flexible belief system, and we have so many numbers on our side that we're not even fighting to like invite people in or anything.
Yeah.
We're
My
good.
my I one thing I think about a lot with religion is also all the ceremonies that are associated with it. Wedding ceremonies, bar
Yeah.
mitzvah, birthday, quinceanera, all that stuff, right? So for example, I really want to have an Indian wedding. That's something that's important to me
Wow,
no
I did
matter.
not know that.
Yeah,
What if your partner is white? What if your partner is white?
they're just gonna have to roll with it because I want an Indian
At least you want
ceremony.
a wedding. That's good. Until the 2, 3 episodes ago, you were like, it's never gonna happen.
No, listen, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but it is something that I would like one day. And however, I kind of want to write my own commandments. You know what I mean? I might
Oh,
just write my own situation.
okay. Oh, that's a twist.
Yeah, and have it be recited because I think I might just take what I like as my moral code and then make agreements upon that.
And your, significant other, will he have a opinion or
I
vote
don't
in that?
know. I don't like giving them opinions, and that's probably the problem.
That's a huge problem. Yes.
Anyways, so yeah.
Baya, what were you saying?
I
Sorry
was
to
just gonna
interrupt you.
say that, Dad, right now, Dadi is our grandma is in our home. She traveled all the way from India.
She's still here.
She's still here. Would you feel comfortable telling her you aren't religious?
100%. Also, remember that a relationship between a child and a parent, when for the same age gap, which is between my mother and I, is about 23 years, when I'm 50 versus when I'm 20, when I'm 25, is different. I feel like my mother is more scared of me today than I am of her compared to your mother and you, where you're more scared of your mother. But when you're 50,
No, recently
your mother
I
will be more
haven't.
scared of you than because she's older and dependent and fragile and wants. I mean, maybe your mother will not be. But my point is that and wants to be part of your life. So I can say whatever to my mom, and she's probably just gonna either accept it even if she doesn't agree with it, but certainly not argue against it too much, right? Because she's now
I don't
that
think
stage
First
of
of
her life.
all, she knows what you think or don't think. I mean, you
I think
grew
this
up
is
with
not a
her.
topic she and I have ever discussed. Now, between the two of my parents, my dad was a lot more religious than my mother ever was. If anybody did any puja or anybody did anything, it was always my dad. So my mother, I would not characterize as religious. So that may be another reason, Bridge, why am I telling her that will not have any impact on her.
I
But
have
you
a
should ask her
question.
that question yourself.
Why is it so awkward to talk about religion?
Because it's heated. The
I
people
People
mean,
don't want to
every
say
war
something
that
that'll
is
get
going on
them
in the world
like.
is on religious ideologies at the moment, right? Either it's Christianity versus Islam or it's Hinduism versus Islam. Every war it has a religious
So,
undertone under it.
so
Under
do you think?
Israel versus Palestine, every one of them.
So do you think that by subscribing to a religion, you draw a boundary between you and other people?
You kind of do, yeah. I think you're right. You do draw a boundary. If you call yourself a staunch Hindu, all of a sudden you become less accepting of Muslims because that's a war that's going on an ongoing basis. I think.
I wonder what that looks like in America, though, because if I'm Hindu, I do one thing that I think is interesting about people who have parents who are immigrants but were born in America is we are usually friends with a lot of people with a lot of different religious backgrounds. I think that's one of the greatest parts of America, especially.
I mean, New York, Zoya. I don't know about America.
You don't
Like,
know.
if we were growing up in Alabama, I don't know how it would have been, right? If you,
That's a good point, but I do think, like, I think, yeah, I don't know. I wonder.
The thing is that that's not just a second generation thing. Your dad and I are also friends with people from all communities. I think,
that would be true if we were in India too. We would be friends with
yeah,
all.
and it was true in India too. I mean, India has the largest Muslim population in the world.
Second largest, but yes.
No, it's not second.
No, it's the
Second to
largest.
Oh, it is the largest. Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
the
because
I
largest
India is
thought it
also
was.
the
I
largest
thought it was one of the
population.
Asian countries, Thailand but I may be wrong.
No, in
No.
Indonesia, Malaysia, but
Indonesia or
like
Malaysia. I
it's
don't know.
up there. We are up there.
Mom, you know
thing is-
so many random things.
I
Oh,
know
Bridge,
everything. The thing
that
is
comes
that
the sucking.
anybody who's educated will tell you that the differences that spark all these wars are basically highlighted and manipulated by the politicians.
Yes.
Those are not religious things that like anybody in real life is sitting
I
around
don't.
yelling
I'm
at their
actually. I'm
friends
sorry.
about.
I don't. I don't really agree with that, and I'll tell you why. I think politicians are elected, in most countries, are elected representatives and represent the ideology of the general country overall. So if Trump gets elected in America, he represents half or more than half the population and the way they think and want things to be done. If Modi gets elected in India, same is true there. Half or more than half, in his case, even more than that, is the people that is what they want.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That depending on the political circumstance, the fact that you think it may be embedded is exactly what I'm saying. Is that there is manipulation always happening depending on who's in power, who's not in power, who's trying to get in power. In everyday life, we don't go around saying to each other, I'm staunch Hindu, I will not be friends with you. That's just not how we live.
When it comes to like day to day, slightly more material decisions compared to just declaring yourself in open, you will choose according to the lines that you truly believe in. A comparison to that in America would be that, if I had to bear a firearm, or which is a right that we have as citizens of this country, or if I had to, employ or follow through, or my belief on the education affirmative action, I may not go out in public and say I hate affirmative action, but I may vote around those lines because I don't really like it, right? But as an individual, unable to change it, and with Trump's election, able to change it. So hence, I don't know if I agree with you. Sorry, I don't want to keep disagreeing with you.
I
It's
don't
your
know.
favorite thing to do. I mean, you don't have to.
No,
like,
but I'm just saying this is and these are hard things for me to say. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you that people make decisions based on their own biases.
Hmm.
You and I are saying different things. We
Okay.
all have our biases, and they're not even based on religion.
I'm going to ask you a question. Several years ago, maybe 10 plus years ago, a little less than that, I was in the Middle East on a business trip,
Mhm.
going to,
Yeah.
what was your state of mind?
I
And I
was
was not
very
in
stressed
UAE.
out because you were
Okay.
going to a there are extremely volatile regions in the world every year. Like, I'm stressed out. I'm in Hawaii. There are freaking volcanoes over here right now.
Oh my
No, but my
god.
point is that it was
No,
Mom.
entirely
it's not.
based
There
on,
are
there
like
was
that's
there
not
was
an
no fact.
overreacting. There are things that happen. I mean, you were going to cross from the border of one country, go into another country. You were going to be talking money. You were going to be dealing with a lot of people with a lot of power. I
No,
was
that
very
makes
stressed out.
sense. That makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that like
I mean, had
volcano.
I been going to Israel as an example, which is also embroiled in a
I would
major
be
war,
very stressed
would
out
you be
there
stressed?
too.
I don't think you would be.
But
I don't want to go. I mean, I'm stressed out about Israel. Are you joking with me? It's the most volatile region on earth. You don't think I would be stressed out? I'm stressed out. I get offers to do comedy there all the time, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not sure I'm ready. Forget Israel and Middle East. I'm stressed out to go to India. You just don't know. It's
But
unpredictable.
that's a comedy specific thing.
No, but it's
no,
not
I don't.
because the point you're making is that if you're Hindu and in a Modi country, in a Modi majority country, you have nothing to worry about. And I'm saying that's not the
I
case.
agree with mom.
That even in India, as a Hindu, as a woman, if I go to India right now and make a joke, I would be very stressed out
It's not
about
even.
Hinduism, not even about any other religion. In fact, about Hinduism, because Hinduism itself has a broad range of like extremists down to the moderates, down to the people like our kids who are like, we're kind of Hindu, but we don't really believe in any one
Hindu
particular
light,
thing.
Hindu light. I just want to bring up this point really quickly as well. There are ways to engage and tap into your culture, and one of the ways to tap in as a Hindu is to go to India, right? Like to go and like see the temples, and that's like the most concentrated religious sites. And I feel sad to say that I don't feel comfortable going at all, right? Like I have had multiple invitations to go, work related reasons to go, and I just refuse to go. I'm actually terrified of going. Every single time I've gone, I felt like actual like fear, in that sense of heightened sense of like goosebumps everywhere at all times. I just don't feel safe, not even in like the nicer areas. And that's just what it is. So I wonder if I'll ever be able to engage with religion in the way that would have been the fullest extent of it. I think, just to circle back to my earlier point, people profiting off of spirituality and religion, I really am curious about how that works out, how it shakes out. What
But
it is.
that's true everywhere, Zoya.
I don't know.
But
In every religion,
Like, for
the
example, okay,
gatekeepers of it will gatekeepers offer religion because they're underwriting it
Can
for the
I
general
finish
public.
my point as well? Like,
Okay,
I'm
please.
tired of this.
Please.
So, okay, for example, I went to Rome. Rome is extremely religious, right? It has
Yeah.
all the early Christianity, churches, etc. And I went to the Vatican. I didn't go and see the whole thing. The Vatican is considered, the spiritual holy center of Christianity. And it is so opulent. The opulence oozes. I remember somebody who was an academic with me on the trip explained that even just one of the poles that was made of solid gold could feed hundreds of thousands of people, just that one pole, because it was just all gold. And it was so grandiose that you couldn't help but believe that there was someone bigger, because it had been this space had been built over the course of hundreds of years. So you felt the history of it. But also there was so much money making happening off of it, because it was a tourist attraction as well. So I guess the faith was producing quite a lot of money based on it too.
That's true for Hindu temples in India as well.
100%.
They're the richest of the rich, or for Islam mosques in the Middle East, right? They're the richest of the rich. But I think that is true for or the biggest churches, you already pointed out. I mean, I think that's just the nature of how religion underwriting works.
One thing that I do that I think is actually against moral code is I really do believe I should be a vegetarian. I do think it is immoral to eat meat, and I do eat meat. And that weighs on me a lot.
Well, why do you say it's immoral?
I just think it's an immoral thing. I think animals have a right to life on this earth as much as we do. And
animals kill other animals too.
But I don't think that we should, given the fact that we have a higher sense of consciousness than other animals. I actually think it's our responsibility as the largest body of animals on Earth to actually be, creating science that disables us from ruining the life experiences of other animals. And I do find it really, really immoral that I do that. I'm hoping that I can phase meat out in my life, but I just have never had success with it because of the protein issue.
Wait, is this from a religious standpoint, or is this from just a personal compass standpoint?
No, this is from a religious standpoint. This is from yogis don't believe in eating meat. Yogis believe in, it's kind of like Jainism, like that.
So you are religious. I'm confused. Can you clarify one more time your stance on religion?
I believe in a higher power. I don't believe in God. God to me feels like a singular entity. I believe in a higher energy. I believe that there are things that you can do to positively and negatively affect your internal energy that then produces energy in the world. I believe that eating animals affects your energy in a negative way, actually. I think it actually is bad for the overall world, and I feel ashamed. I do feel ashamed on a routine basis that I am unable. I think that's one thing. I think the role of shame in religion is really interesting, right? For example, you're not supposed to have sex before you get married. You're not supposed to eat animals. You're not supposed to do drinks or drugs. You're not supposed to, there are so many.
You're supposed to be faithful to when you get married.
You're supposed to, you're supposed to obviously not cheat on your spouse. You're supposed to, I'm trying to think, what are the other major
A lot of religions even have restrictions on not following other religions. Like Hinduism is very liberal. You can go in and out of a temple, but it's not true of every religion.
Right. So yeah. And so I actually think the shame factor of that has been it does touch me in many, many ways, right? Specifically with animals, I do feel ashamed that I eat animals. I know that I shouldn't do it. I know that whatever I believe in disagrees with my decision to eat animals on a day-to-day basis. And I do feel shame, right? And I think that shame is interesting because I see young girls, for example, all the time feeling that shame about, having sex or something before they get married, or whatever version, or drinking alcohol, right? I've seen people experience shame. That's actually one of the reasons why people lie so much, which is one of the bad products of religion, is that you want to meet this perfect moral code, but if you fall short, then do you just lie? Well,
it depends on how aggressive your God is, because some God.
And in Hinduism, there's always another life. The next one.
But earlier you made a point about how you don't need God, and you not like that. You said you should be able to on your own differentiate between good and bad and be your own good person. But do you not think that having somebody to fall back on when times get super tough is helpful?
It is helpful, but that's why it's great to create a network. It's great to create a network of people who care about you. It's amazing to have family. If you don't have any family, you don't have any network, and you're just stuck. I don't see what do you mean by fall back on? Like if I just say, God, I'm falling back on you, can you just hand me $100? That's not how it works. You could pray and hope that something happens in that way, or you can also, do other
But
things.
something to give you confidence, something to give you motivation.
Again, all of these things that people like to use in religion that comes from God, like nothing good and bad comes from God, motivation comes from God. I don't believe that that's so strict. I believe that you can find all of these different things in so many different areas. You can be motivated by fear. You can be motivated from the fact that you don't want to be homeless. You can be motivated from the fact that you don't want to lose your life, and so for that reason you're not going to go on a roller coaster. You're going to be you can there's so many different reasons to feel motivation or any sort of emotion in the world, and it does not have to be dictated by like a religious deity. I think that it could just be I think a lot of this is very, very comprehensible, and it's able to be thought of on your own. And the way the religion makes it seem is that if you do not listen to that, it's just you have no idea what you're going to do. Like you have no idea what you're doing. You're just not someone who's capable of understanding good from evil. You're not capable of learning how to motivate yourself. When your back is against the wall, you're screwed. There's nothing that's going to get you out that situation. When I just don't feel like that's the truth.
Wait, also, I like to keep plants in my room because it feels like I'm like more spiritual.
What? Plants make you
Yeah,
more
like-
spiritual? Okay. All right. As we end every episode with a round of good grades with Gargs, so too we will end this round with a round of good grades with Gargs, where each Garg assigns one A grade to another Garg who brought the winning point of view, the entertainment, or the most memorable point in the episode. So who wants to kick off good grades with Gargs?
I can kick it off.
Okay, Bridge.
So I want to give my A grade to the whole family this episode, which I rarely do, but I feel like you guys all deserve it. I took a much more backseat role this episode because I wanted to hear everyone's perspective, specifically Didi's, because everyone, we wanted to hear his last episode, but we didn't get it. Specifically, I would love to give my A grade closer to Didi, just because I thought that she was hilarious this episode. She had very funny jokes. But the reason why I'm giving it to the whole family is actually because I'm reading this book right now, and it's an incredible book that everyone should read. It's called Phil Knight, Shoe Dog. And in this book, he talks very authentically. He talks and doesn't highlight any topic. He didn't PR train himself saying, oh, we have to avoid talking about this specific religion or this specific territory or this specific topic. He just gives it all out there. He said, this is the facts. I'm going to be completely honest. And Dad, you were so honest this episode with everything. You were extremely authentic.
Why don't you individually give everybody an A except me?
I thought, and then Mom, of course, you also are just the king of authenticity, right? Everyone knows
closer
you're not
to your
faking
Didi.
anything.
Then Dad is so honest, and you and Bridge, we'd have your own thing. Somehow, I'm like the villain of this family.
No, but the point was everyone brought so much authenticity to this topic, and it's such a dangerous topic. It's very similar to some of the other topics we've talked about. Money, cats versus dogs ended up being a crazy topic, which none of us anticipated. But sex, anything, right? All these topics are dangerous to talk about because the media can take it in so many different ways. But I just love to see all of your authenticity this episode.
I'm going to give my A grade to Mom.
Oh my.
Oh, great. Now I get a pity.
Are you not going to explain it?
We
You're
could all
just gonna
predict
give
this.
No, it's a real A grade because Mom introduced me to yoga. I remember Balvihar, this Indian Hindu, meeting group every week. They had a once a week, if you wanted, you could stay an extra 30 minutes to do yoga with one of the teachers. And none of the students would want to do it because it was like not the cool thing to do because that was an optional training. And I would like go out with all the other kids, like, that's so stupid. And then I would come back and I would be one of the only kids that would do the yoga because I loved it so much. I'm 22 and I still practice yoga like multiple times a week, can teach other people yoga, like it's been like the cornerstone. The day I found every time I have a big time decision coming out, like the day Stanford was about to come out, when we were waiting to find out about the New York Times bestseller list, like anytime I have a stressful moment, I do an hour of yoga by myself. And I talk to my God in that hour, and or to my higher power. And if it weren't for mom introducing and pushing me and dragging me,
Yeah,
screaming,
I would
crying,
say
throwing up.
introducing is not accurate, but yeah, more pushing, dragging, kicking, screaming,
I'll
yeah,
give
and
I'll
funding. Oh my
and
God.
funding. Yes.
I'll give my A grade to Zarna for the first time in a long time, and that's
True.
because she put the three kids through Bal Vihar, which I thought at the time was such a horrible idea. I used to hate that Bal Vihar thing because, it used to be at all these random locations, and this, there was even a Panditji in there. It just felt so weird in New York City. But turns out that you guys remember it till today, so it was obviously a really good decision.
I'm gonna give my A grade to Baya because I think that when you push back on my points, it. So generally with my friends, we all argue over things. So we start to have similar opinions to each other because we all come to a general consensus. So I think that when you push back on my points, it puts a new perspective in my friend group. And even if I do agree with them, I like to just argue just because it's fun to. And it's been a lot of fun hearing your opinions to form my opinions.
Wow,
No,
weird. He
wow.
just talks so well. This boy. Okay, you're left.
I'm gonna give my A grade. I would say that the A grade for this episode overall belongs to Bridge, because on this topic he's had the most innovative thoughts. He made me think in the last episode. If you haven't watched it, people, you should go back and catch that episode. He made me think about what about all the rights of the people that are marginalized by all religions. And I hadn't really thought about that, which I thought was great. And even now I can see that he's struggling with it, but he's listening with an open mind, and eventually will reach the conclusion that he is Hindu and he does believe in religion. But that's okay, it's a journey for
Bro,
everybody.
politician,
and
bro. I literally can't.
and I want to issue an A grade for the first time ever to somebody who's not even a Garg or in the family. But my friend Aditi Malhotra ran Balvihar in Manhattan for many, many years by herself. And look at this, decades almost later, there are kids remembering the experience. And then Preeta auntie and Anjali auntie's families continued the work of running the Balvihar. And what a tremendous service you did to our family and probably to all the other families who used to show up every Saturday or Sunday morning in, as we said, random locations. What Sharab is calling random locations is not acknowledging how hard it was to organize. They were fighting for a location every time. They were fighting for the candy that Veer so vividly remembers. Even schools would not allow the candy in the room. I mean, they really hung in there despite all these battles, and for that they deserve a shout out. And a shout out to all the families out there that are keeping their religions going in whatever way that they are building community, and there's something to be said for that. And I hope that you have all enjoyed this episode of Religion Part 2. Do we believe in God Part 2? We hope you go back and watch the first part because it was eye opening. Watch it with your families, people. Like, share, and subscribe this episode to all your friends. Bring them into our world so we can all find out what they think, what they believe in, what are they doing, the tricks that they are using. I can't wait to continue this conversation in all the different formats that even came up today, the little pieces that came up today. And until we meet again, everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye.